Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to tackle a topic that often trips men up: recognizing when a woman is genuinely interested in you and, more importantly, when she's giving you the green light to make a move. Now, I want to be blunt from the start. Most men completely miss these signs, not because women aren't giving them, but because we're conditioned to overthink, misread, or worse, ignore the signals entirely. And trust me, in my years of experience as a therapist, I've seen it happen over and over. Imagine sitting across from someone you're drawn to. You feel the tension, the subtle energy shifting in the room, but you're hesitant. That hesitation can cost you moments that could have been extraordinary. I've worked with men who look back years later and realize the signs were there all along. They just didn't see them, and it's not their fault. Society teaches men to be cautious, to wait for clear consent signals that are often buried under layers of nuance. So, what I want to do today is break it down in a way that's clear, practical, and grounded in real-life experience. These aren't some abstract theories or cheesy pickup tactics. They're observations I've made countless times with people navigating attraction, intimacy, and connection. We're going to talk about body language, verbal cues, the little hints that might feel almost invisible at first. But here's the kicker. Understanding these signs isn't about manipulation or mind games. It's about reading social and emotional signals accurately so you can respond in a way that's confident, respectful, and genuine. By the end of this video, you're going to understand the subtle ways a woman communicates interest and how to approach her without overthinking, hesitation, or awkwardness. Some of what I'll say might challenge everything you thought you knew about flirting and attraction, and that's exactly why you need to hear it. So, let's get into it. 1. Eyes. That eyes that speak volumes, speak volumes. When we talk about attraction, one of the most overlooked yet powerful signals a woman gives is through her eyes. I can't tell you how many times I've had clients sit across from me describing encounters where they were completely blind to the subtle ways a woman was communicating interest. Eyes are not just a window to the soul, they're a direct line to emotional intent, and women often communicate more through their gaze than through words. In my years of practice, I've observed that when a woman is genuinely drawn to someone, her eyes will linger a little longer than normal. It's not about staring aggressively or making anyone uncomfortable. It's about that moment of connection where her gaze holds a warmth or curiosity that feels magnetic. She's not just looking at you. She's noticing the details. The way you move, the way you smile, even the way your voice shifts when you speak. That attention is deliberate, though it's often subtle. Another aspect is the sparkle or dilation in her eyes. In therapy sessions, I've helped men realize that the tiny, almost unconscious widening of a woman's pupils is a strong physiological response to attraction. It happens naturally when someone is interested in you. And even if it's something you don't consciously register, your subconscious notices it immediately. There's a reason people say someone's eyes light up around someone they like. It's real and it's biologically rooted. But it's not just about direct eye contact. Sometimes the signals are quieter, quick glances that flicker across a room, repeated looks when she thinks you're not noticing, or subtle shifts in how she positions herself to face you. These are the moments that often get overlooked because men are conditioned to wait for words rather than notice behavior. And this is where so many opportunities are lost. What I always emphasize with men is this: reading eye signals requires presence. You have to slow down, notice, and actually see her. Not just look. It's about picking up the rhythm of her attention, the way her eyes soften when you speak, or the little sparks of amusement and intrigue that pass across her face. These cues are almost impossible to fake consistently, which makes them incredibly reliable. Understanding this one simple element, how a woman uses her eyes to communicate, can completely change how you approach her. It builds a bridge of connection long before words ever enter the conversation. Learning to notice and interpret these cues isn't manipulation, it's awareness. When you see her eyes light up or linger on you with interest, it's your invitation to step forward confidently, knowing that the signals are real. Second, subtle touches that signal interest. Subtle touches that signal interest. One of the most telling signs a woman is interested in you is the way she uses touch. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not talking about anything overt or inappropriate. I'm talking about the small, almost unconscious touches that communicate interest and curiosity. Over the years, I've worked with countless men who completely misread or entirely missed these signals, often because they were waiting for words rather than paying attention to behavior. And that's exactly where many men go wrong. In my experience, a woman who's into you will find subtle ways to connect physically, even in casual situations. It might be a light brush of her hand against yours when passing something, a touch on your shoulder while laughing, or adjusting your jacket or hair in a playful way. These moments are not random, they're her way of testing comfort and signaling connection. I've observed that when a woman does this, she's often looking for a response, consciously or subconsciously, trying to see if you notice, if you reciprocate, and if you're comfortable with her presence. Another layer of touch involves proximity. Women who are interested will naturally reduce physical distance when interacting with you. Think about a conversation where she leans in slightly, positions herself so she's facing you fully, or subtly angles her body toward yours. These adjustments are rarely intentional in the way we consciously plan gestures. They happen almost instinctively because she feels drawn to you. Over time, these physical signals accumulate and create a rhythm of interaction that communicates more than words ever could. But here's an essential point. Understanding touch is also about context and consent. A friendly pat on the back or a casual tap can mean different things depending on her energy, timing, and the situation. What makes a touch meaningful is consistency and the combination of other signals. When repeated, deliberate, and paired with smiles, laughter, and attentive body language, touch becomes a reliable indicator that she wants a deeper connection. As a therapist, I often tell men that the key to interpreting these cues is awareness. Notice how she interacts with you compared to others. Is she finding ways to create moments of contact only with you? Does she seem playful, curious, or even a little nervous around you? These small, intimate gestures are her way of opening a door, but it's up to you to recognize it and step through confidently. Physical signals like touch are often a woman's way of saying without words that she feels safe, curious, and interested. When you learn to notice, interpret, and respond appropriately, you build a subtle but powerful connection. It's not manipulation. It's awareness, sensitivity, and confidence in navigating attraction. The woman who uses touch thoughtfully is giving you a map. Follow it carefully, and you'll know when the time is right to make your laughing at things you say, even when they're not funny, move. Third, laughing at things you say, even when they're not funny. Laughter is one of the most underestimated signals a woman gives when she's interested in you. I've seen it time and again in my work. Men sit across from someone they like, and every joke, every comment, even the ones that aren't remotely funny, gets a laugh or a smile. At first, they think she's just being polite, but in reality, it's a subtle, powerful way of showing connection. In therapy sessions, I often ask men to reflect on these moments, and it's almost always a turning point in helping them understand the signals they've been missing. Here's the thing. When a woman laughs at your words, even the ones that aren't clever or particularly entertaining, it's her way of saying she enjoys your presence. It's not about humor. It's about engagement, comfort, and emotional connection. I've observed countless cases where men assumed she was just friendly or polite, only to realize later that her laughter was consistently paired with attentive eye contact, leaning in, or playful teasing. These small behaviors work together to create a very clear signal. She's interested. She feels safe with you, and she wants you to notice her interest. Another important detail is timing. When a woman is genuinely interested, her laughter often comes at unexpected moments, not just in response to jokes. She might laugh at something you say casually, or at a shared glance or subtle observation. That spontaneous, almost instinctive response is an unconscious way of reinforcing a connection. In my experience, these are the moments men tend to overlook, dismissing them as coincidence when in fact they're consistent cues of attraction. Laughter also creates a feedback loop. The more she laughs and shows genuine enjoyment, the more confident you feel, and that confidence naturally draws her in further. In therapy, I encourage men to reflect on this dynamic. Attraction isn't just about one-sided observation, it's an exchange. When a woman consistently responds with warmth, humor, and shared enjoyment, she's signaling that she wants more than casual interaction. She's inviting you to step up and match her energy. Finally, it's not just about hearing laughter. It's about noticing how it's delivered. A soft giggle when your eyes meet. A playful laugh that draws attention to her smile, or a burst of genuine amusement at something mundane. These are emotional markers. They tell you she's invested in the moment with you. When interpreted correctly, laughter becomes a map of interest, guiding you toward understanding her intentions without any awkwardness or guesswork. Understanding the power of laughter isn't about reading too much into casual politeness. It's about noticing patterns, emotional consistency, and the context of her engagement. When a woman laughs at you, really laughs, it's her way of saying she's open, curious, and subtly daring you to make a move. Miss it and you miss the opportunity. Notice it and you step confidently into connection. Fourth, finding excuses to be around you. Finding excuses to be around you. One of the most subtle yet telling signs a woman is into you is when she finds excuses to be around you. This isn't always dramatic or obvious, it often shows up in small, seemingly casual ways. I've had clients share stories that illustrate this perfectly. One client, for example, was in the early stages of dating someone he genuinely liked. He noticed she would accidentally show up where he was, at a coffee shop, during group outings, or even in classes they both attended. At first, he brushed it off as coincidence, but as a therapist, I often help men recognize these patterns because repeated, consistent efforts to be near someone are rarely accidental. In relationships, proximity is a powerful tool. My client eventually realized that her subtle appearances weren't random. She was creating opportunities to engage, to interact, and to deepen the connection. It wasn't about overt declarations or dramatic gestures. She wasn't saying, "I like you" outright, but every little step she took to be around him was an invitation. In therapy, I emphasize that these moments are signs of curiosity and interest. Women who are attracted tend to create scenarios where closeness can happen naturally without forcing the issue. Another important aspect is her energy when she's near you. My client noticed that when she was in the same space, she seemed more lively, more engaged, and even playful compared to how she interacted with others. This is crucial. It's not just about being physically present, it's about how she behaves in your presence. Attraction often manifests in a combination of presence and energy. She's giving you signals that she wants your attention, wants to be noticed, and subtly encouraging interaction. This behavior is also a test of your responsiveness. She's watching, seeing how you react to her presence, how you respond when she creates these moments. My client initially hesitated, unsure whether to make a move or let things happen naturally. But over time, he realized that these consistent signs weren't coincidences. They were invitations. Recognizing them allowed him to approach the situation with confidence rather than hesitation, creating a stronger emotional connection. In short, finding excuses to be around you is a quiet but powerful form of communication. It's a way for a woman to show interest while maintaining a level of subtlety, protecting herself emotionally until she feels safe to express more directly. When you notice these patterns, it's your responsibility to observe, interpret, and respond appropriately. Awareness of this behavior can transform uncertainty into clarity, hesitation into confident action, and curiosity into meaningful connection. My client's experience demonstrates that when you pay attention to these small, intentional moments of presence, the path to connection becomes much clearer. Mirroring your movements and energy. Fifth, mirroring your movements and energy. Another sign that a woman is into you is something I've seen repeatedly in relationships. Mirroring your movements and energy. This might sound subtle, almost too small to notice, but it's a powerful indicator of attraction and comfort. One of my clients early in his relationship shared an experience that illustrates this perfectly. He noticed that when he crossed his arms, she would unconsciously do the same. When he leaned forward to speak, she leaned forward as well. At first, he thought he was imagining it, but over time, he realized it happened consistently. This mirroring wasn't forced. It was natural, almost instinctive, and it signaled her genuine interest. Mirroring is a form of nonverbal communication that builds rapport and connection. In therapy sessions, I explain to men that this behavior is rooted in empathy and subconscious attraction. When someone mirrors your actions, it's their way of signaling without words. I'm in sync with you. I enjoy your presence. I feel connected. My client's experience showed him that these small, repeated gestures were not coincidences. They were part of how she was communicating her interest and emotional engagement. It's also fascinating how mirroring extends beyond body language. I've seen women subtly adopt speech patterns, tones of voice, or even laughter rhythms that match the men they're interested in. In my client's case, he noticed that she would echo certain phrases he used or respond with similar humor. These patterns aren't deliberate. They're a reflection of the subconscious desire to create closeness and harmony. Recognizing this allows men to understand when their presence is genuinely welcomed and when there's a growing emotional connection. Another critical point I emphasize in therapy is that mirroring is often paired with other signals, creating a network of cues. In my client's situation, the mirroring was accompanied by playful touches, frequent eye contact, and laughter at even mundane comments. Combined, these signals paint a clear picture. She felt comfortable, safe, and attracted to him. It's easy to dismiss one behavior as coincidence, but when multiple signals cluster together, it's a strong indication of interest. Understanding mirroring also empowers men to respond appropriately. When you notice her subtly matching your movements or energy, it's a green light to engage more deeply without overthinking or forcing the interaction. It's a nonverbal conversation happening beneath the surface, and recognizing it allows you to move with confidence rather than hesitation. My client's story illustrates that when you pay attention to these cues, attraction becomes less mysterious and interactions become more fluid, natural, and meaningful. In short, mirroring is more than mimicry. It's an emotional signal. A woman who mirrors you is showing that she feels a connection, is comfortable around you, and is signaling interest. Recognizing this can be the turning point in moving from curiosity to a deeper connection in a relationship. Playing with her appearance when you're near. 6. Playing with her appearance when you're near. One of the most subtle yet powerful ways a woman shows interest is by playing with her appearance when she's around you. I've seen this countless times in my work as a therapist, and it's fascinating how often men completely overlook it. This isn't about vanity or superficiality. It's a deeply human way of signaling attraction, comfort, and curiosity. Women often engage in small, almost unconscious behaviors to present themselves in a way that feels appealing to someone they like, and when you know what to look for, it becomes a clear signal. I remember a client who was seeing someone new. He noticed little things. She would smooth her hair repeatedly when talking to him, adjust her necklace, or subtly touch her face. At first he thought he was overanalyzing, but the pattern was consistent. These actions weren't random. They were her way of drawing attention, creating a connection, and feeling confident in his presence. In therapy, I often explain that these behaviors are rooted in the human desire to be noticed and appreciated by someone we're drawn to. It's a form of nonverbal communication that speaks volumes without a single word. Another common example is clothing or posture adjustments. Women often subconsciously shift to present themselves in the best light when someone they like is nearby. Maybe she straightens her jacket, crosses her legs a certain way, or adjusts her stance to appear more open and approachable. Over time, I've seen men realize that these small, consistent gestures are reliable indicators of attraction. My client shared how noticing these details gave him the confidence to engage more directly, understanding that her behavior was intentional, even if she wasn't aware of it consciously. It's also important to consider the context. These behaviors are most meaningful when they occur repeatedly around you and are paired with other signals like eye contact, laughter, or playful touches. A one-off gesture could easily be coincidence, but a pattern indicates interest. In therapy, I stress to men that attention to detail is key. Noticing the way she interacts with her own appearance and your presence gives insight into her emotional state and level of attraction. Finally, understanding this behavior helps men respond naturally rather than overthinking. When a woman is subtly playing with her hair, jewelry, or posture around you, it's an invitation. It's a sign that she's comfortable, curious, and wants you to notice her in a way that feels intimate yet effortless. My client's experience shows that recognizing these cues allows men to approach interactions with confidence, responding in kind with attention, warmth, and engagement. In short, playing with appearance is a quiet, nonverbal way a woman communicates interest. It's subtle, consistent, and deeply human. When you recognize and respond to these signals thoughtfully, it strengthens connection and makes moving the relationship forward far more natural and intuitive. Dropping personal stories and emotional hints. 7. Dropping personal stories and emotional hints. One of the most revealing signs that a woman is into you is when she starts dropping personal stories and emotional hints. In my experience as a therapist, I've noticed that women naturally open up to people they trust and are interested in. It's a subtle way of testing the waters, seeing if you're attentive, empathetic, and capable of reciprocating emotional connection. One client of mine shared an experience where the woman he was dating began telling him small personal stories about her childhood, her ambitions, and even her insecurities. At first he didn't think much of it, but over time, he realized that sharing these details was her way of creating intimacy, signaling that she felt safe with him and was drawn to him. The key here is consistency and intentionality. Sharing a one-off personal anecdote might just be casual conversation, but when a woman consistently drops these emotional hints, it's a sign she's trying to create a deeper connection. I often tell men in therapy to pay attention to the context. Is she opening up more around you than she does with others? Does she reveal parts of herself that are vulnerable or meaningful? These are powerful indicators of interest because vulnerability is not shared lightly. Another subtle layer is how she reacts after sharing. My client noticed that after she told him something personal, she would glance at him, almost waiting for a response or reaction. This is a test. She's gauging whether you're engaged, empathetic, and emotionally present. Women naturally look for men who can handle emotional depth without judgment, and sharing personal stories is a way of evaluating that. In my sessions, I often explain that noticing and responding to these emotional cues appropriately is crucial. It's not about overanalyzing or trying to impress. It's about being genuinely present and attentive. Emotional hints can also appear in casual comments or light teasing. Sometimes she'll reference experiences or feelings indirectly, almost like leaving breadcrumbs to see if you pick up on them. My client realized that paying attention to these small cues allowed him to respond with warmth and understanding, which deepened the attraction. It's remarkable how much a woman can communicate without ever saying outright that she's interested. It's all embedded in the stories, the little details, and the way she watches for your reaction. Finally, the beauty of these emotional signals is that they invite reciprocity. When you respond thoughtfully, sharing your own experiences or showing empathy, it creates a feedback loop that strengthens connection and trust. Recognizing that a woman is dropping these hints allows you to move forward with confidence, understanding that the signals are genuine and intentional. In short, when a woman shares personal stories and subtle emotional hints, it's a sign of trust, attraction, and curiosity. Paying attention to these moments allows you to respond in a way that builds intimacy naturally, deepens connection, and shows her that you're attuned to her feelings, setting the stage for a meaningful next conclusion step. Recognizing when a woman is into you isn't about guessing or overthinking. It's about noticing the subtle, consistent signals she gives. From the way her eyes linger to playful touches, shared laughter, and the small way she mirrors your energy or plays with her appearance, each sign tells a story. When she shares personal stories and emotional hints, she's inviting connection and trust. Paying attention to these cues allows you to approach her with confidence, authenticity, and respect. Understanding and responding to these signals transforms uncertainty into clarity, giving you the opportunity to make a move naturally and meaningfully.